Hello everybody, my name is JD why-zall-ick and I'm the founder of azcollegeplanning.com, and tonight we're going to be talking about timeshares, right? No, just kidding. We're going to talk about college. I want to go over a couple things that are in the booklet that I handed out to you. The first thing that I want you to notice is the green evaluation form. If you'd fill that out, I would appreciate that, because that gives me feedback and lets me know that I'm giving you the information that you want and need. And then also there's 2 checkmark boxes, yes or no, for a free consultation if you would like that. If you would, put a checkmark yes in that, and I will give you a gift certificate for a 1-hour consultation. Because the information that we are giving out tonight is more of a general nature. If you want to talk about your family-specific situation, put a checkmark yes in that box and we can talk about that. If you don't want that, put a checkmark no. Okay? Next thing I want to point out is this page right here, and it's the financial aid delivery system. If you look at that and you say that is completely insane, yes it is. And once you understand who wrote the rules for this, you'll go, oh, that's why it's as crazy as it is. Yeah, one of those. There's 2 there. Okay. Basically, it's the people that we voted for and put into office and created our tax laws and all that stuff. Are our tax laws crazy? Absolutely. Next page is a map to my office, which is over by the Scottsdale Air Park, just about 10 or 15 minutes from here. And then the next 2 pages you're going to be taking all of your notes on there. We're going to cover most everything that's on here. We're not going to cover everything. If there's something on here that I didn't cover, that you want that information, send me an email, and I'll send you a PDF email back with everything all filled out. Okay? And then there's some other things in here. What you should know before applying to colleges, why colleges use the ranking system, and a few other great tidbits and articles that I wrote in there. Okay? You guys familiar with this publication, U.S. News and World Report, Best Colleges? A little history on it is in the early 80s, I think it was like 82 or 83, one of the journalists went to the editor and said, I've got this great idea for a Best Colleges edition. And the manager said, edition? No. You can have a couple pages. And it started off just a couple pages. It was such a big hit that they did it again the next year. And then in 1986, it spun off into this publication here. And this publication, they produce millions of copies every year. And it costs about $10. So it is a huge revenue generator, not only for this company, but it's also a huge revenue generator for the individual colleges. And I want to explain why. What they do is they have created a form, and they send that form out to all the colleges, and the colleges send that information back, and then this company ranks them. Okay? And if they are higher ranked, that attracts more attention, and with more attention comes more applications. What also comes with an application? An application fee. And those fees can range anywhere from $0 to $100, and typically it's about $60. Okay? So colleges will do everything and anything they can to manipulate these numbers, and sometimes even immoral things. There was a college in California a few years ago that falsified information. As if. And basically they lied. And they lied about their SAT and ACT scores. They said their SAT and ACT scores were here, when in reality it was a little bit lower. Okay? So, let's go to page 2 in the booklet. And we're going to learn several acronyms today. The first acronym we're going to learn is COA, cost of attendance. Okay? Cost of attendance. And the cost of attendance is everything. It's room and board, meal ticket, lab fees, books, student ID card, parking pass. All of that combined together is the total cost of attendance. And that's what we want to find out, what the total cost of attendance is. God bless you. God bless you too. All right. Anybody else? No? Okay. So a few years ago, I had a student who visited ASU, and that is something that I strongly recommend for all of you, both parents and students, is to go visit some colleges. There's 3 colleges right here in town. We've got ASU, we've got Grand Canyon, and Arizona Christian University. I recommend visiting all 3 of those schools just so you can get an idea of what the different types of schools are. So at ASU, we've got large public school, Grand Canyon, mid-sized school, and then Arizona Christian University, small religious school. So this student visited ASU, and on the tour guide said the cost to go to ASU is $9,500. Well, yeah, you're shaking your head. Yeah, while that is true, it's only partially true. That's tuition. Again, when we add on their room and board, meal ticket, lab fees, books, et cetera, now we're hovering around $26,000. So the in-state cost, the sticker price for any of the in-state schools is going to be about $26,000. Okay? If you're looking at NAU, it's a little bit less, but it's still hovering around that dollar mark. Now, if your student is interested in, or if you students that are here are interested in the Honors College or Barrett, you can add a couple dollars on that. So it's about $27,000, $28,000 for the Honors Colleges. Now, what about if you have aspirations to go to an out-of-state or a private school? Anybody want to guess what those costs are? 45, double? Okay. Depending on the school, it can range anywhere from $35,000 to about $65,000. In fact, one of the rankings in here is most expensive school, and Sarah Lawrence University back east, that particular college claims that spot every year. I don't know why they want to claim it, but hey, okay. And their sticker price is $66,580 for 1 year. So you can go to any college's website and in the search engine, type in costs of attendance, add all those numbers together, and that's what your cost is going to be. So if you really want to scare yourself, do this. Go to the college's website, find that cost of attendance page, add those numbers together, and then multiply it times 4 years. Then multiply it again times the number of kids you've got, 2 kids, 3 kids, etc. And that's enough to give anybody a coronary right there. And have you asked yourself, how in the world are we going to be able to afford that? There we go. And I've talked to literally hundreds of families, and these are some of the strategies that they've said as ways to pay for college. And these might be something that you might be thinking about as well. And always the first one that comes up is, well, my kid's going to get a private scholarship. So let's put a definition on what private scholarship means. Private scholarship is a scholarship that your student applies for and wins. And if they win that scholarship, they can use that at any school. Versus if they won the lumberjack scholarship at NAU, they couldn't take that scholarship and go down to Trinity or Carnegie Mellon or any of that stuff. So the advantage with a private scholarship is it's portable. You can take it anywhere. So that's the first thing, is they have to apply for it. Okay? So if your student receives a letter or an email that says, congratulations, you've won a scholarship, and you haven't applied for it, it's a scam, especially if the letter says, mail us $100 and we'll tell you which one you've won. Okay? So of the $137 billion of financial aid that's available, that's with a B, billion, less than 2% consist of private scholarships. Okay? So let's not neglect the lion's share of it, which is going to be federal, state, and school endowment funds. There are some schools that are just uber rich. And we want to apply to schools that have money to give out. That's another key there, is make sure you're applying to a school that has money to give out. Because if they don't have any money and you qualify for it, they can't give it out if they don't have any. Okay? So that's private scholarships. The next one is that parents have told me as a way to pay for college is, well, my kid's an athlete, my kid's going to get an athletic scholarship. What are the 2 moneymaker sports in college? Football and basketball, exactly. Okay? If the college can recruit a kid to come in there and throw that touchdown pass or do that slam dunk, it's going to attract attention, especially if they're a winning team. And by getting those kids to come in, they're going to sell tickets. And that's another way that colleges make money, is by selling tickets to these different events and all that stuff. So when Marcus came into the office a few years ago, we were having a conversation. It was April of his junior year. And I was looking at his list of colleges, and I noticed that University of Kentucky popped up on his list. And I go, oh, that's interesting. Why did this school pop up on your list? Oh, it's a really good school. It's got all these great programs. I'm like, okay, tell me the real reason. He's, well, they won the NCAA March Madness championships. Oh, okay, you want to go to a school that has a winning team. That's fine. Well, that year, because Kentucky won the NCAA championships, that attracted more attention. I don't remember what the exact application fee is. I think it's like 50 or 60 bucks to apply to that school. But because that attracted, because they won that division championship, that increased their rankings in that category, which attracted more attention, more applications, and more application fees. Understand this, that colleges are a business, and they're going to do things for business purposes. So they're going to admit and try to recruit those football and basketball players. Now, if you play any other sport, the likelihood of getting a full ride athletic scholarship is probably not going to happen. Okay? Another strategy that parents have told me as a way to pay for college is we've saved some money. And I read a statistic that the average family has saved $10,000 to apply for college. Now, how are we going to make 10 grand go where 100 grand should? And if you've saved more than that, then God bless you, you're better than the average. But let's also look at this. If you did save some money, we want to find out a couple things. We want to find out who the owner of that product is and what financial vehicle that money is stashed in. Because there are three different types of buckets of money. The first bucket of money is money that's in the student's name, and that gets assessed at the highest percentage rate, anywhere from 25 to 50%. And then the second bucket of money is money that's in the parent's name, and that gets assessed anywhere from 5 to 15%. So sometimes just by rolling over who the owner is, we might qualify for some more need-based aid. And then there's a third bucket over here, and that's money that's not assessed. And the not assessed is anything that is under the retirement umbrella. So 401ks, IRAs, Roth, things like that. Okay? So again, sometimes by rolling money over and that, we can qualify for some additional need-based aid. Now, what about 529s, JD? Well, when President Bush left office, one of the last things that he did was he signed a new bill that said that 529s are now considered the asset of the parent. Whew, thank you, JD. Because what you just told me is that now that 529 is the asset of the parent, and because of that, it's assessed at a lower rate than the actual students, which is true. However, as soon as you expose to a college that I have a 529, they're going to go tag, that's my money, I want it, and they're going to split it into quarters. I want 25% the freshman year, 25% the sophomore year, et cetera, et cetera. Okay? Now here's my big disclaimer. Before you move money around or any of that stuff, you've got to find out what the ramifications are, both positive and negative. Sometimes it is prudent to move money around, and sometimes it's not. The next strategy that parents have told me as a way to pay for college is we're going to borrow the money. And there's a loan out there called the PLUS loan, P-L-U-S, and that stands for Parent Loan of Undergraduate Students. So theoretically, if your income and credit can afford it, you can borrow up to 100% of the cost of attendance on a PLUS loan. So again, theoretically, you could have a PLUS loan to send your kid to Sarah Lawrence for $66,580. Please don't do that, by the way. Okay? But again, theoretically, you could do that. So you can go to any online calculator and you can plug these numbers in, put in the cost of attendance, add 4 points, that's our service fee. Yeah, I know it's a ripoff, but hey, that's what it is. And currently it's 6.5%. Amortize that over 10 years, and you're going to be shocked and surprised by the time you're done. So I've got a stack of award letters here. And what the award letter is it says, here's how much we're giving you in scholarships and grants. Here's how much we're giving you in loans. Here's how much we're giving you in work study. Bottom line is, it's going to cost you this much to go to this school. So I had a family who came in for one of the complimentary consultations, and they wanted to know what the heck it was they were about to sign, because they received an award letter, and some colleges are very devious in their wording on the award letter. And they were showing me the award letter, and it said PLUS $25,000. And they're like, "Ooh, we got a $25,000 scholarship." So they had 3 realizations. The first realization was, this is a loan, we got to pay it back. The second realization is, this is a loan, we got to pay it back now. Now I know what you're thinking. You're thinking that student loans are deferred as long as the student remains in college, and that is true for a student loan. This is a parent loan, and parent loans are due 30 to 60 days after disbursement. So if your kid starts college in August, September, October, they're going to want their first payment. Okay? That was their second realization. We got to pay it back now. Their third realization was, yeah, it's $525 a month, and we can afford that on our income now. But if we follow this path, we'll take out a second plus loan his sophomore year for an additional $525, and those loans will now stack. Do that again junior year, do that again senior year, and those loans stack up. Now they're looking at over $2,000 a month, and that's just for one of their 3 kids, and they're going, how in the world are we going to be able to afford that? I'm happy to report they didn't go that route. You can go to the website, azcollegeplanning.com, click on testimonials, and you can see exactly what Denise said on there. In fact, I got invited to, and Denise was the mom, I got invited to Courtney's graduation. And Courtney graduated from a private school. Parents did not take out any educational loans, and the student graduated with 0 loan debt. That's exactly where we want our kids to go and start their lives and all that stuff. Okay. The other thing about the educational loans is that for the most part, you can't write the interest off of your taxes. Do consult with your CPA regarding that. I've got 2 more strategies that parents have told me as ways to pay for college. The next one is use a home equity line of credit. You guys know what that is. And then the last one is liquidate retirement accounts. Okay? Please don't do that one. Okay? Because retirement accounts should be for retirement. But I want to tell you what some families are thinking. So let's create a hypothetical family, and let's say that their adjusted gross income is $75,000. Let's also assume that their student applied for and was admitted to a college that has a sticker price of $50,000 and received a half scholarship, so it's going to cost them $25,000 to go to that school. So they make 75, and it's going to cost 25. You guys follow me on that one? Okay. So they're looking at that going, you know what? We've got money in our 401k. Let's withdraw that money. So here's the double whammy on it. The first one, all of you are aware of. If you're under age 59 and a half, you get hit with those taxes and penalties, right? Okay. That's the first whammy. The second whammy actually hits them the next year, because their adjusted gross income was $75,000. Now that $25,000 is considered income, it's actually going to raise their adjusted gross income now to $100,000, and whatever they qualified for at 75, they're going to qualify for less. So that's the double whammy on that. Again, before you move money around or any of that stuff, you need to know what the ramifications are, both positive and negative. Sometimes it is prudent to do that, sometimes it's not. Okay? So that's pretty much the end of the depressing portion of tonight. I tell you this not to give you a heart attack, it's a reality check. We all know that college is expensive, and we all have seen some of the statistics behind college. Maybe you guys have seen this one. A college graduate earns $1 million more over their work lifetime than their high school counterparts. Have you guys seen that one? It's like 1.2 million if you do the math on it. But if you calculate it out, the difference is $40,000 a year difference over their work lifetime, which is pretty incredible. And another statistic that I came across, and it must be true because Harvard was the one that did the research on it, states that a college graduate is likely to live 7 years longer than their high school counterparts. So I guess the finding on that is if you want your kid to live longer, send them to college, right? I had a dad who was sitting in one of my classes a few years ago, and he says, I'm totally sending my kid to college now so he can live long, so he can pay me back for all the stuff I'm doing for him now. Okay. All right. So moving on in our booklet, the magic 3 letters, which is the next acronym, is EFC. EFC. And that stands for Expected Family Contribution. Expected Family Contribution. Is anybody familiar with this term? A couple of you? Okay. The EFC, the Expected Family Contribution, is a number that is calculated from a federal formula through the FAFSA Form. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And once you put in all of your data, how much money you have, how much you make, how many are in your household, and age of your parents, and all that other stuff, it runs a calculation, and at the end it says your EFC is blank. And whatever that is what the federal government and what the colleges think or expect you to pay for college, regardless of if that number is astronomically ridiculous or not. Case in point is I had a family who came in for the complimentary consultation, and they wanted me to look over their FAFSA form because their EFC was $98,000. Now what that means is that they can afford to pay cash to send their kid to an elite college and one of yours. Okay? But that's not really the reality, because when I was looking at it, their adjusted gross income was $89,000. I'm like, your 89 is your adjusted gross, but your EFC is more than 100% of that? I'm like, how did you guys do that? So I was looking through the form, and there's a line on there that says investment accounts. And then you're supposed to put a number in there. What's an investment account? Retirement? Exactly. So when they read that in investment accounts, they thought 401k, IRA, Roth, things like that. Those are my investments for my future and all of that. But what they didn't do is they didn't read the small, tiny print on there that said, do not include anything under the retirement umbrella. So they put in there, $750,000, and that, of course, blew them out of the water for getting aid and stuff. Okay. If you want to learn more about the EFC, you can find this document. It's called the Higher Education Opportunity Act. Higher Education Opportunity Act. I do have to warn you, it's 432 pages of the most god-awful, boring lawyer speak you can imagine. So if you're having some problems sleeping at night, print off a couple of those pages, it'll knock you right out. I did have the joy of reading it. It took me about a month and a half to get through that sucker. It was definitely a chore. But it does cover every different scenario for whatever type of student it is and all that. Okay? What we want to do is we want to get our EFC number as low as possible so that we can qualify for the most need-based aid. And there are some legal and ethical things that you can do to control that number. Okay? And in some situations, we can't. So one of the biggest myths out there is you make too much money to qualify for aid, so why even bother filling out any of those forms? Okay? And most likely, that family that their adjusted gross income was $89,000, most likely they're talking to some friends that are in that same income bracket going, we filled out that stupid form and we didn't get anything, so why bother? Which is another reason why that myth gets perpetuated. Again, they filled it out incorrectly. Okay? Now some of you might have a high 6-figure, or maybe you even know of someone who has a high 6-figure or even a 7-figure income, and in that situation there's not a whole lot that can be done to control that EFC number. So there's another strategy that we employ for those types of people, and that's what I call student positioning. That's properly marketing and promoting the student to the college so that when the college looks at that student, they don't say, I want this student. They say, I need this student to come to my school. And when that college tags that student and says, we need that student to attend our school, they're going to bend over backwards and offer some form of incentive. And those incentives are either real or perceived. A perceived incentive is something that Harvard would perpetuate. You come to our school and graduate with a Harvard diploma and the world is yours. We can debate that at another time. Okay? A real incentive is, you want to come to our school? Here's some scholarship dollars. Okay? So I want to give you an example of that. By telling you a story. When Lynn and her dad came into the office, I love to ask this question, and when you guys come into the office, I'll ask you this question as well. What colleges are on your list? And when I asked Lynn that question, Dad piped up and said, she's going to NAU because that's all I can afford. And I said, let's play the game. So part of playing the college game is apply to 8 to 10 schools. And 8 to 10 is kind of that sweet spot with not applying to too many and not too few. A couple of years ago, John applied to 22 colleges. And I'm going, dude, what are you thinking? And he says, oh, here's what happened is I really wanted to apply to UC Davis. And when I went to UC Davis's website, I found out that I could fill out one application and then I could click on Davis and Berkeley and San Diego and UCLA and. And he applied to all the UC schools. And then he also applied to a bunch of schools on the Common App and then some other schools as well as the in-state schools. So he applied to 22 different colleges. Now when a recruiter sees that, you applied to 22 colleges, so I have a 1 in 22 chance of you coming to my school? No, I don't think so. And actually rejected him. So he was rejected by the majority of those colleges, not because he had bad grades or bad test scores, but because he applied to too many. Okay? When a college is looking at that, they're going, you know what, 1 in 22 chance, I really don't want to mess up my numbers, so no. And colleges track all these different numbers and all that stuff. So apply to 8 to 10 is kind of that sweet spot. And applying to too few, the worst thing any student can do is apply to one college. Because if a student applies to one college and is admitted, other than that college saying, yes, you can come to my school, what else do they have to do to get that student to attend? Nothing. If that school now has to compete with 1 or 2 or 5 other colleges to get them to attend their school, now that school has to offer some form of incentive. So when Danielle came into the office, she said, I've fallen in love with a school, and I want you guys to do that as well, but just not as early as she did. Okay, when you should fall in love with a school is May 1st of your senior year, okay, not in your sophomore year. And she's like, I really want to apply to and only want to go to University of Arizona. And I begged and I pleaded, please apply to more than just one school. She did reluctantly, and I think she applied to 5 or 6 schools and that. And she received her award letter, and the award letters come in about this time, March or April of your senior year. And so she received her award letter from U of A, and it said, you want to come to our school, it's going to cost $25,000, we're giving you 0 scholarships. And Dad called me up in a panic. I don't want to pay $25,000. What do I do? I said, well, what other schools was she admitted to that got some scholarship packages? Oh, she was admitted to this school. All right, take that award letter, go down to U of A and go, they gave me this, what can you guys do? And he did that. It was a little bit more involved than just that, but that's the simplistic side of it. And not only did they beat it, they also gave her an iPad. Danielle was really excited about the iPad. Dad was excited about the cash. Okay? So again, when Lynn came into the office, Dad said, she's only going to NAU. I said, let's play the game, apply to 8 to 10 colleges. She ended up applying to 7 schools. That's okay. Of the 7, she was admitted to 5, and two of those 5 fell off the wayside for one reason or another, and it really came down to these 3 schools. And it was NAU, of course, Willamette University in Oregon, and Whitman College in Washington State. So when I helped Lynn identify these 2 schools, what was Dad's first question? List price for those. Exactly, how much? Okay. And I said, well, both of those schools have a sticker price of about $45,000. He had a coordinator right in the office. I pulled out my defibrillator. I said, no, let's play the game. Okay, so I helped Lynn with her applications, her essays, all of that stuff, and identifying those schools. And the first school that admitted her was Willamette University. And they offered her $25,500 in scholarships. Lynn was on cloud 9 for days. Dad, not quite so much. We still got a $20,000 gap. Then the next school that admitted her was NAU. And Dad's out-of-pocket cost to go to NAU would have been $10,520. Yeah, it's a big bullet. I'd rather not do that one. And then the last school that came in was Whitman College. And Whitman offered her $40,750 in scholarships. Dad's out-of-pocket cost, $5,000. Okay. Lynn received this scholarship every year. She is now a grad student. I helped her with her grad application and her grad essay and all that stuff. But she received this scholarship every year. She had to maintain a minimum GPA. I don't remember what it was, 3.0 or 3.2 or something like that. Most colleges, when they offer you a scholarship package, they'll say that you've got to meet the minimum GPA in order to get that renewed your next year. And that GPA can range anywhere from 2.3 all the way up to 3.5 or so. I had a student who finished up his freshman year at ASU with a 2.95 GPA. And the renewal was 3.0. Yeah, you're laughing. Mom and Dad weren't laughing. Yeah, 0.05. That's one assignment turned in on time. Extra. Okay? Lost a scholarship package. But anyway, going back to Lynn, she got this every year. And here's the really cool part, is this scholarship also covered study abroad. She did 2 study abroad terms. One she did in Japan, and the other she did in Peru. That's pretty cool. Why did this college give her this money? Because they knew if they admitted her, their rankings would go up in one or more category. She was a female applying to a mostly male-dominated major. That increased their rankings. Don't ask me which one, I don't remember. She was also a Arizona student attending the school in Washington. And so now, Whitman can come back to this publication and say, we have geographic diversity. We've got kids from here, there, Arizona. We've got them all over the place. And your students are having conversations with their counselors saying, I want to go to a school that has geographic diversity. Okay, let me look in the book here. You should apply to Whitman. Okay, so don't kid yourself. They didn't just give that free money away for nothing. They know that they're going to earn that money somehow back in additional application fees or increased rankings or such. You have a question? Go ahead.
When you were talking about he went to the school and said, they offered us this, does that school look at the dollar amount that was offered or percentage? In other words, well, they offered you 50% of their tuition, so we'll offer you 50% of ours. Or do they really look dollar to dollar?
They look at dollar to dollar. Okay. However, you can't take the Harvard award letter and go to ASU because those aren't competitive schools. Okay? Because Harvard would go to ASU, and ASU would go to Harvard. Okay? But if you've applied to competitive colleges and potentially pit one school against another. So if you go to Yale's website in their financial aid section, in black and white text there, it says, if you give us a comparable award letter, we'll match it. Now, if you ask any college if they negotiate, they'll flat out tell you no. But that's not true. And the reason why it's not true is once you get past the 60 colleges, the top 60, and you can name those top 60. It's going to be Harvard, Stanford, Duke, Princeton, Yale, Columbia, Vanderbilt, University of Chicago, et cetera, MIT, and all that. Once you get past those 60 have an admission ratio of 25% or less. But the remaining colleges, the remaining almost 2,000 colleges, they're competing every year to fill their freshman roster. So again, when we're applying to colleges, we want to make sure we're applying to the right types of colleges where we stand out, and of course, where they have money to give out. Okay, so the 3 questions that you need to ask every college. The first question is, how much need will you meet? How much need will you meet? So in my example here, I'm going to say that the cost of attendance is $30,000, just for simple math. Now, if we put that family that their EFC was $98,000, how much need would they qualify for? 0, right? Okay. But if we did some strategic planning and we got our EFC down to $10,000, then we would qualify for $20,000. Everybody follow that? Okay. So once we find out what our EFC is, and it's important to find out what your EFC is early on so that we're not guessing what our true costs of college is going to be. So the question we need to find out is, this money that we do qualify for, what percentage of that are they going to give us? Are they going to give us 0 or 100% or somewhere in between? Question in the back, go ahead.
Sorry, I'll be quick. When you're talking about this formulation, what, and I'm sure you can go into all kinds of things, but what is considered? I have 4 kids that still live at home, 3 of them are in college. I've got my high school that's going to be going, and every time we've looked into college aid because of our income bracket, it's a no. So do they take into consideration that I'm still paying for 3 other adults in my house besides my husband and I, and all that dynamics?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. And there are some things that we can do to appeal to a college, because the FAFSA form is a static form. It's just numbers.
Okay.
And those numbers don't necessarily reflect everything. When I'm looking at the numbers, it doesn't say on there that I'm taking care of my aging parent and have to pay for them in their nursing home, and I've got 4 other kids. It doesn't say that. It only says, okay, what are the numbers? So we can go back to the college and appeal in some situations. Let's talk about that more offline.
Thank you. Yes, I appreciate that.
Okay. So for this one right here, that we qualify for $20,000, I'm going to say that they're only going to give us 75%. 75% of that is $15,000. We subtract those 2. We've got $5,000 of what's called unmet need. So a truer cost for this student to attend this college, we already know that they're going to charge us 10 grand, and they're not going to give us our full need. So we've got to come up with that $5,000 as well. So a truer cost for the student to attend the school is going to be $15,000. Okay, that's the first question that you want to ask. And the second question is in tandem with that one. Of this money that we qualify for and that you're going to give us, what's the split on it? How much is going to be self-help and how much will be gift aid? Okay, and gift aid is scholarships and grants. That's the free money that your student receives that they don't have to pay back. Yeah, we want the bulk of that. The next one is self-help, and self-help is broken into 2 categories. And those categories are loans and work study. And all y'all know what loans are. And what work study is where you work for the college or one of the college entities and you receive a paycheck, and then you can use that paycheck for whatever you want to reduce tuition or buy books or buy pizza or whatever. And when I was at Biola University, I had 2 different work study jobs. One was in the cafeteria, and that was gross. Do you know what college kids do with their food on their trays after they're done with it? Oh, and I was one of those until I got a job there. I'm like, oh, I'm not going to do that again. So that was short-lived. And then I had another job at the Eagle's Nest, which was their short-order restaurant, and that where you get burgers and hot dogs and grilled cheese sandwiches and stuff like that. And I could make a really mean grilled cheese sandwich. 3 years ago, my daughter called us on the phone. She's a senior this year at St. Martin's University, and she'll be graduating this May. as a mechanical engineering student. She did it in 4 years. So yes, you can graduate from engineering in 4 years if you're diligent. Anyway, in her freshman year, she called me on the phone, and it was October, and she says, "Hey, Dad, I applied for a work-study job." I'm like, "Sweet." A couple weeks later, she called up, and she said, "Hey, I got that work-study job." We're like, "Awesome. What is it?" Momentary silence on the phone. Campus security. So she worked in campus security. And she had the most awesome hours, the 11 p.m. to the 3 a.m. shift. I'm like, what were you thinking? And anyway, so there's a variety of different work-study jobs that are available. So the question here is, they're not going to give us the full $20,000. They're only going to give us $15,000. What's the split on that? And in my example here, I'm going to say that it's 50-50. So 50% is $75,000 in gift aid and $75,000 in self-help. 7,500. Comma. Yes. Sorry about that. I like big numbers. So 7,500 in gift aid, which is your scholarships and grants, and 7,500 in self-help, loans or work study, or a combination thereof. Okay. Then the third question, which is the most important of the three questions, and it's, how long is it going to take my kid to graduate from your school? What's your graduation timeline? And you can go to this website. It's collegeresults.org. Write that one down, collegeresults.org. And type in the name of any college, and you'll see a page like this, and you can print it off or whatever. So this one is University of Arizona. And at University of Arizona, the 4-year graduation rate, it's 33.8%. And the 6-year graduation rate is 59%. Why is it taking these kids so darn long to graduate? Well, one reason is because, exactly, classes are all full. They apply for a class, they can't get into that class. And if that class is a 200 class and they need it to get into a 300 class, well, they're stuck. Especially if that class is only offered once a year. Then they got to wait till that cycle comes back around before they can apply to that class. That's one reason. Another reason, and this is the most prevalent reason, is because this week I'm a biology major. Next week I'm a business major. You know what? Philosophy major sounds really cool. No, I'm back over here. I'm undeclared. So every time a student changes majors, that pushes the graduation window out further and further and further. So one of the things that we do at AZ College Planning is we help students research careers, majors, and colleges within that order, okay? So that when the student applies to college and steps foot on the college campus as a freshman, they're more solidified. This is the direction that I want to go into, so that they can graduate in 4 years. Okay, so I want to tell you my story. And my story is, when I was in high school, I met with my guidance counselor, and honest to God, this was the conversation I had with her. Hi, JD. Hi. You're a good artist. Thanks. You should be an art major. Okay. Next. And that's how much conversation I had with my guidance counselor. Now, God bless all the guidance counselors and all that. They're just overworked and overbooked and all that stuff. So I went home and I thought about it for all of about 37 seconds. And I thought, you know what? Artists don't make any money. I've got to do something else. And at that same time, there was a TV show on. And maybe you guys remember this one. It was 30-something. You guys remember that one? Gary and Elliot had an ad agency, had a beautiful office, beautiful wives, all that stuff. I'm like, hey, graphic artists, I'll be that. Also at that same time frame, I was talking with a buddy of mine who was a freshman at Biola University, and he says, JD, you got to come to this school. It's so awesome. The girls here are so cute, and we have the most amazing beach bonfire parties. And they did, but I won't go into details on that. Other than I had a friend, and his name was Bartles and James. I was 21, okay? And I said, do they have a graphics department? And he said, yeah. And I said, dude, I'm in. And that's how much thought went into me picking my career, major in college, and all that stuff. Now, here's what ended up happening is I got an internship at a graphics house in my junior year. And I highly recommend that for you as well, for you and your students. Get an internship and do that as early as possible. I waited until my junior year and was working at a graphics house and decided, I don't want to do this the rest of my life, and ended up having to reset and all that stuff. So when you're looking at colleges, one of the questions you need to ask is, what's your graduation timeline? And at a state school, and it doesn't matter what state it is, whether it's Arizona, California, Colorado, Virginia, Kentucky, it doesn't matter. The average state school graduation timeline is 6 years. And the average graduation timeline at a private school is 4 years. So again, before you throw out a college based solely on the sticker price, you need to do all of the different numbers and all that stuff. Okay?
You said that ESC should be done as soon as possible. What is as soon as possible? What year are you looking to have that done?
You want to find out as soon as,
Year?
well, you want to find out what your EFC number is as soon as possible. We don't want to wait until our senior year in January to file the financial aid forms and go, oh, it's $90,000.
But doesn't it change year to year? In other words,
Yes, it does change.
freshmen into school.
It does change from year to year. And as long as your income is about the same, we can kind of guess as to what it's going to be and all that. Yeah. So unless, great Aunt Matilda kicks the bucket and leaves you $1 million, well, then you don't have to worry about college. But not everybody has an Aunt Matilda.
Where do you find this for? Like, where do you go to?
For what?
The EFC.
You can go to any college's website and look at, it's called the net price calculator. And I went to ASU's net price calculator, maybe a couple months ago, and they had not updated it in about 3 years. Okay? The problem with the net price calculator is when President Bush left office, he said he mandated that every college must be transparent and have this net price calculator somewhere on their website. The unfortunate thing is that some of those net price calculators really don't give us the whole picture. They only ask just a handful of questions, not as many questions as really what's required to get an accurate EFC number. So I've had a lot of people who've gone to the net price calculators, looked at it, put in their numbers and all that stuff, and just completely freak out.
What do you suggest?
Come into the office. I have a calculator program that really is top notch. And it will calculate within a couple $100 of what your EFC is. So that way we're not really guessing in that.
Is it a standard calculation, or each college calculates it themselves, have their own form for the EFC? I mean, is it standard, like once you have determined
Yes.
that's the number that every college will have, or is it different for each school?
Yes and yes. Does each college use the same formula? Yes. Does each college have their own formula on top of that? Yes. Okay? And we're going to go over that in just a little bit as we compare two different colleges, an in-state and a private school. And I'll show you what those two different numbers look like and stuff. Okay? Okay. So the two main financial aid forms. The first one is the FAFSA form, which is right there, fafsa.ed.gov. And please write it down as you see it there. If you go to Google or Yahoo or any search engine and type in FAFSA, the very first one that pops up is fafsa.com. Please blot that out of your brains, because fafsa.com has duped thousands and thousands of families, God bless you, into coming to their website. Because the FAFSA.com website, it asks all the same questions that are on the FAFSA form, and then the very last question that it asks is, would you like us to submit this on your behalf? What's your credit card number? And they charge you $100 to do that. Okay? So again, make sure you write it down exactly as you see it here, fafsa.ed.gov, because if you go to the correct website, there is not a fee to file this form, hence the name free application for federal student aid. Okay? And this is the formula that will calculate out your EFC. Now, there's several ways that you can fill out the form. You can do a hard copy or you can do it online. I do recommend doing it online because it's a lot faster and more seamless that way. But regardless of whether you do it electronically or hard copy, on either one of those forms, there's a warning on there. And the warning states, many times people will charge you for what you can do for yourself. Check with your school administrator for help on this form or something like that. I really want to nail that statement to death by making 2 points. My first point is we're getting close to tax season, right? And you can have your taxes filled out for you for free. Did you know that? All you do is you collect all your information, you give it to the IRS, they'll fill it out and give it back to you, and then you sign it and you're done. Did you know they'll do that? Do you want them to do that? Will they? Yeah. Will they do that? Will they fill that form out on your behalf? Absolutely not. Okay? And that's my first point. So if you contact an FAO, a financial aid officer at a college, and say, hey, can you show me ways that I can lower my EFC? They're not going to do that. My second point is if your student is applying to a popular college like Berkeley, Berkeley last year had 75,000 students apply. They just don't have the time or the manpower to go through each one of those forms and go, you know what, this family filled it out incorrectly. Let's correct it for them and give them some more money. Again, that's not going to happen either. Okay? Now, one of the other things that is going to happen or has already happened is at your students' high schools, they had college financial aid night. And at college financial aid night, they typically bring in somebody from one of the state schools and they talk about financial aid. And this is their whole conversation, is financial aid starts with a FAFSA form. Please go to the right website, fafsa.edu.gov. Don't go to fafsa.com, and you fill it out. Okay? And 60% or more of the audience is students. Please, and no offense to any students in here, please do not allow your students to fill out that form by themselves. Would you allow your kid to fill out your 1040 form? Yeah. So please assist them with that. And my advice is read it carefully and take the time to fill it out correctly, because it could be a tens of thousands of dollars mistake. I just had a meeting with a family, and I was looking over their tax form and all that, and he was telling me about a couple things, that some transactions that he had. And I'm like, how come these aren't on your tax form? Because this is going to change the whole picture and all that stuff. And lower your AGI and lower your EFC and qualify for some more need-based aid and all that stuff. So, again, take the time to read it carefully and that. If you want to talk about EFC and the FAFSA form and the personal consultation, fill out that form and we can talk about that. So the first form is called the FAFSA form. The second one's called the CSS Profile, and you can find that on College Board's website. College Board, they're the entity that make the SAT and AP tests and a few other things. The primary differences between the FAFSA and the CSS is that the FAFSA form is a static form. Colleges cannot add or subtract questions. The CSS Profile asks all the same questions that are on the FAFSA form, and then whatever the heck they want to ask in the supplemental section. So one of the supplemental questions for MIT was, what's your kid's cell phone number? Why do you want to know my kid's cell phone number in a financial aid form? I've got a conspiracy theory for that. Okay. Another question in the supplemental section could be, what's the make, model, and year of your vehicles? Why are they asking me that, JD? Well, because if you're claiming that your adjusted gross income is $40,000 and you're driving a 2015 Bentley, those don't match, okay? And that's going to throw up some red flags, and they're going to ask more questions and all that stuff, okay? The FAFSA does not ask about your primary home equity. The CSS Profile might ask about it. Another question that's on there is, how much will your grandparents, aunts, uncles, neighbors, etc. give you to go to college? It's on the CSS Profile. What should that number be? Zero. Because if you look at EFC, F stands for family. It doesn't stand for what's your neighborhood net worth, nor does it stand for how much does grandma have in her trust account. Now, if grandma does decide to kick in some cash, then God bless her, but don't have grandma write a check and mail it directly to Stanford, because if that name and address comes across their desk and doesn't match what's on file, it's going to throw up some red flags. Okay? So, every college that you're going to apply to is going to require the FAFSA form. Some colleges are going to require the FAFSA form and the CSS profile. And then some colleges are going to require the FAFSA form and their own proprietary financial aid form. So you see the trend there? Every college wants the FAFSA form. Now, which colleges use the CSS profile? There's about 400 or so colleges that use this form. And it's typically going to be your more elite types of colleges, Harvard and Stanford and things like that. Okay?
Do those colleges look at legacy? Does that really happen? Like if you had grandpa or...
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Legacy does help, especially at the Ivy schools. That if you're, as long as the student has the grades and the test scores and all that stuff to potentially qualify.
On them and maybe give more scholarship? Is that what you're saying? Or not necessarily on the financial end of things? Or...
No, they're more likely to admit the student. Okay? There's a handful of colleges, and that's those top 60 schools. Those are primarily need-based aid only schools. So if someone has an EFC that is above $60,000, they're not going to get any scholarships or grants at those particular schools that are 100% need-based aid. Okay? So the timeline is to start in your freshman year of high school, start as early as possible with identifying some colleges. As a freshman, you should have a list of about 20 to 30 schools that you're thinking about, and then take the SAT and ACT in your freshman year. If you have 7th or 8th graders, talk to me as well, because I do recommend for some students as a 7th or an 8th grader to take the SAT and ACT. Okay? If you've got a 7th or 8th grader, talk with me offline about that, and I'll give you some strategies. So then your sophomore year, start narrowing down the list of colleges, go visit some schools, and take the SAT and ACT again. And then in your junior year, narrow it down to the 8 to 10 schools you're going to actually apply to. And then get your applications in as early as possible. Applications go live August 1st of your senior year. So we want to get our applications in as early as possible because some college, well, every college has a finite amount of aid that they're going to give out. And for those of you moms that were in here, do you remember when your kid was 6 years old? Mom, I really want a big birthday party. All right. So they invite the entire school, right? And the entire school shows up. And you got 20 or 30 kids at your house, and they're all screaming and stuff like that. And you're saying happy birthday, and then you start cutting the cake. Okay, line up for cake. And so you start cutting that cake up. And the first pieces are nice, generous pieces. And you're looking at the line going, holy crap, there's a lot of kids here. Pardon me. And so those cake pieces get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller till the last kid, here's a couple crayons and stuff. So it's the same idea and the same concept that we want to get a big piece of cake, so we want to be first in line. So get your application in as early as possible. Then in January, you fill out and submit the financial aid forms. Then in March of your senior year is when they send out acceptance letters. Maybe you've heard before that, but typically it's going to be in March. And then a couple weeks after that are the award letters. And then May 1st is decision day. That's the day that you decide, yes, I'm going to go to this school, and decline the other schools. I know you were waiting for this one. The best way, or the number one way to get more money is apply to 8 to 10 colleges. And make sure you're applying to the right types of colleges for your student. A student that has a 2.1 GPA should not be applying to Harvard and that. So we want to make sure that they're applying to the right types of schools for them, where it's very competitive for them to get into that school and that. and then take those award letters and compare them and potentially negotiate or appeal and ask for more money. Okay? So one part of our service at AZ College Planning is helping you, parents and students, research and identify different types of colleges. We'll expedite the learning curve so that you don't have to pay a penny more for school than necessary. So I want to go over 2 examples here. So the first one is ASU. Did I tell you that it's Pick on ASU night? No? Okay. Actually, I love ASU. They're a great school and have a lot of great programs and all that stuff. So they've got a sticker price of $25,290. The only variable in this room is EFC. I don't know what everybody's EFC is, but we can calculate that out at some point. I have a family that their EFC was $8,320. And we did some strategic things to get them to that point. So if we subtract those two, we have a need of $16,970. Of the $16,900, almost $17,000 that we qualify for, what percent are they going to give us? It's 61%. 61% of that is $10,252. We subtract those two, and we've got an unmet need of $6,718. How do you know it's 61%? If you go to the website, nces.edu.gov/college navigator, you can type in the name of any college and click on the financial aid section, and it'll give you all the different numbers that are in there. Okay? So we qualified for $16,900. They're only going to give us $10,000. Of this $10,000, what's the split on it between scholarships and self-help? And the split is 53%, 47%. So they're going to give the student $5,434 in the form of a scholarship or a grant, and $4,818 in the form of a loan or work study or a combination of those, for an upfront cost of $14,738. How did I get that? EFC plus unmet need equals that. Okay? So the next school we're going to talk about is Claremont. Claremont McKenna in California. They have a sticker price of $57,865. And our EFC is $8,320. That EFC number for that family is going to be a static number for that student for that year, regardless of the school that he applies to, whether it be ASU, whether it be Claremont, whether it be MIT, or Scottsdale Community College. And that EFC number is going to change from year to year if your income goes up or down, and or if Aunt Matilda leaves you $1 million. Okay? So we have a need of $49,545. What percent are they going to give us? 100%. So we have an unmet need of 0. But JD, are they going to totally stick it to us and give it to us all in loans? Yeah. There's some colleges out there that like to boast, we meet 100% of your need and we'll give it to you all in loans. Well, thanks, but no thanks. Claremont McKenna happens to have $300 million in their endowment fund. They have a huge endowment fund. And they are generous. The split on it is 92%, 8%. So they're going to give the student $45,581 in the form of a scholarship or a grant, and $3,965 in the form of a loan or work study or a combination thereof for an upfront cost of $8,320. How did I get that? EFC plus unmet need equals that. But is that really our bottom line? No, we have to add in their self-help, because that needs to be paid back in either a loan or in man hours. And when we add that in there, we're at $19,556 for 1 year at ASU. And at Claremont, we're at $12,285 for 1 year. Okay? Now tell me which college is less expensive. Please do not throw out a college based solely on the sticker price until you've run all these different numbers. Question in the back.
How do you know if the school has money?
Google is our friend. Okay? If you just go to Google and you type in the name of the college, I'll tell you a little secret here, okay? Don't tell your friends this one. It's go to Google, type in the name of the college, and these 4 letters. Ready? W-I-K-I. Okay? So Claremont McKenna Wiki. And go to that page, and in that page it'll say endowment, and it'll tell you what that number is. Most every college is on there. Granted, there's a few colleges that aren't on there. Sometimes you have to do a little bit more research to find those numbers. Okay? So I've got a few award letters I want to go over. And again, the award letter is going to state, here's how much we're giving you: scholarships, grants, loans. Bottom line, it's going to cost you this much money. So Krista is going to Charleston Southern University, and her parents' out-of-pocket cost $5,000 for her to go to the school. Okay, she was offered a partial athletic scholarship and a partial academic scholarship. A combination of all of those things gave her a nice scholarship package. Here's a student going to Whitworth, and this student was offered $28,000 in scholarships. Oh, here's a great story. I love this one. This is Chad. He's going to Vanderbilt. And I got a very nice email from Chad's mom. And you can go to the webpage and click on testimonials, and you can read it. It says, thank you very much for helping Chad on his college journey and all that stuff. We never would have reached for a school like Vanderbilt because we thought it was out of our price range. Okay? And the sticker price at Vandy is $63,272. And they're going, there's no way we can afford that. However, Chad got a very nice scholarship package of $57,772. Okay, granted, Vanderbilt is a good challenge to get into that school and all that stuff, but we did assist him with that. Brandeis, this was the exact same conversation, except it was not the dad, it was now the mom. She's going to NAU because that's all I can afford. I said, let's play the game and apply to a bunch of schools. And Kayla applied, I think she applied to 9 schools. And the school that she was admitted to that she decided to attend is Brandeis. Brandeis has a sticker price of $59,000. She was offered $51,000 in scholarships. And if you add in work study, $53,000. So mom and dad's out-of-pocket costs, about $7,000. Louisiana Tech. Jeffrey is going to Louisiana Tech for free. Okay? And when you talk to colleges and the college recruiters and you ask them about their scholarship packages and the recruiter says, oh yeah, we have a full ride scholarship, you want to find out what full ride means. Because to me, full ride means mom and dad pay for the airline ticket to get out there and pizza. And that's it. And that's exactly what Jeffrey has at Louisiana Tech. Some colleges will say a full ride means tuition. Well, I'll still take it, but thanks. But we still got to come up with dorm room and a meal ticket and books and all that other stuff. Here's another great story. Tanner came into the office and he said, JD, I only want to apply to the Air Force Academy. And I said, please, I begged, please apply to all of the military academies and every ROTC program and have a backup plan. So he agreed to do that. And he came into the office and he said, JD, I've been doing some research on the Air Force Academy's website, and I found out that the minimum ACT score for admission is 25. I got a 26. What do you think? I said, they're going to take your application, they're going to crinkle it up in a little ball, and they're going to throw it in the trash. Really? Yeah, because that's the minimum. I said, you need to take the test again and you need to bump your score. And so he went through my prep program, and if you go to the website, click on test prep, I do have the best prep program that's available. He went through that program and he did bump his score. I can't remember where he ended up, 29, I think it was, and was admitted to the Merchant Marine Academy. So what's mom and dad's cost for him to go to the military academy? Nothing? It was $350. I'm sorry, it was a trick question. And the reason why it was a trick question was because he missed the airline to get out there. Otherwise, it really would have been free. Okay? And PLU, she was offered $34,000 in scholarships. Parents cost 10 grand. Hamilton, I love this story about Hamilton. When Tom hired me for his daughter, it was November of her senior year. And I went, oh man, I don't know how much we can really do there. But we did as much as we could. And we got her some great, got her into some really good schools and got her some good scholarship packages and all that stuff. Tom had two younger kids. And so we started working with Adrian in 8th grade. And what we did with him as an 8th grader was go and please take the SAT and the ACT. And he did. And we did a little bit of prep. And he took it as an 8th grader, and he did pretty good. I mean, not stellar, but pretty good as an 8th grader. And that gave him a little boost of confidence. And that boost of confidence carried over into his freshman year of high school. He took the tests again in his freshman year, took them again sophomore, and in his junior year, knocked it out of the park. And was offered a spot at Hamilton. And Hamilton, sticker price $51,000. He was offered $48,000 in scholarships. My last story is this one, is Jonathan going to George Fox University, which is in Oregon. When Jonathan and his parents came into the office, we had a roundtable discussion, John, his parents, and I, and his parents said, we will pay for you to go to college this much, whatever that was. Everything else is on you. And the scholarship package came back that there was a $5,000 gap. And Jonathan says, I really, really want to go there. What do I do? I said, here's what I want you to do. I want you to call the school up. Talk to the recruiter. You know who the recruiter is. You've built a relationship with that person. Talk to that recruiter and explain your situation. And I gave him some instructions on exactly what to say and all that stuff. And basically it was, I'm short $5,000. I really want to go to your school. What can we do? And poof, magically $5,000 appeared. Jonathan's now a senior at George Fox University. So when you come into the office for the personal consultation, I'm going to do one of two things. One of the first things that we'll do is we'll have a conversation, and please bring your student into the appointment, and we'll chat. And I will be very, very frank with you, and I will say, yes, I can help you, or no, I cannot help you. If I say no, I can't help you, I will point you in the right direction and all that. If I say yes, I can help you, then I will offer an extension for you to become a client. And what I charge for my clients is $3,500. I am very good at what I do. And when I think it was 6 or 8 months ago, Tom called me up on the phone, and we were just talking and all that stuff. And he was telling me about his son, who's now a senior at Hamilton and is going to be graduating as valedictorian at a top 25 school. That's incredible. And Tom goes, JD, thank you very much for helping us start so early, because we wouldn't have attained that had we not started so early. And I did a little bit of math, and I figured out that between his 3 kids, that family received $650,000 in scholarships. Is that a good investment for Tom? Tom's like, heck yeah. And he calls me like every 6 months and just says, hey, thanks, I just want to let you know what's going on and all that stuff. So again, when you come into the office, I'll be very frank with you. No, I can't help you, or yes, I can help you. So what we do with the services, I think I'm going to answer your question, is we're going to have some one-on-one sessions with your student. And in one of those initial one-on-one sessions, we'll identify careers, majors, and colleges. And I'll oversee that list of colleges and make my recommendations. Here's the different colleges that I think that you should apply to. So we'll have several one-on-one sessions with the student. And then also, I host different classes throughout the year. And I actually have a class tomorrow night, Thursday. And that class is entitled How to Properly Market and Promote Yourself to Colleges. Because there is a proper way to do that. And basically what we're doing is we're selling ourselves to the colleges. Understand, for students that are in here, understand that colleges are selling you. And how they're selling you is through the brochures and the pamphlets and through the recruiters and all that stuff. So when you see the brochures and you see all the glossy pictures and all that stuff, please realize that all of those photos are photoshopped, okay? Especially the ones in California where you've got the blue skies and all. There are no blue skies in California. And the lawn's perfectly manicured and the happy smiling faces and all that stuff. They're selling you on that. We want to reverse that and sell ourselves to the college so that when the college looks at us, they're like, we don't want this student, we need this student. And when they identify the student that they need, they're going to bend over backwards and recruit that student and offer incentives, and those incentives are scholarships. Okay? So that's the end of my presentation. The end. Thank you. Please fill out that evaluation form and put a check mark yes in that box if you'd like a complimentary consultation, and I'll give you a gift certificate for that. And I do have a few dates that are available. I'm going to put this on the table up here. If you know what your calendar is, you can sign up for one of those dates and guarantee your spot. And that. The end. Last questions? Go ahead.
How much is this getting aid tied into grades and test scores? So, I mean, obviously you have to meet criteria to be admitted to the school, so we'll have to look at that.
Uh-huh.
But as far as getting aid, are they going to say, like, if I have a child that's a 2.5 or 3.0 average versus a 4.0, are they going to look at that and give aid to someone that has better grades or test scores?
Yes. Yes. They will give better scholarships to students that have higher grades and higher test scores. Now with that, we want to look at the demographic of the college. And we want to, when we're looking at that demographic, we want to look at what the average student's GPA is and what the average student's test score is. Where do we, as a student, where do we fall on that list? Do we fall in the bottom third, the middle third, or the upper third? And it can really vary, because a 26 ACT score will give you an outstanding scholarship package at University of Arkansas. But a 26 won't even get you looked at Stanford. So it depends on which college it is that you're applying to and all that stuff. I had a student who has a 2.3 GPA. I don't remember what her test scores were, but they were not anything stellar. She was admitted to a school in Alabama, and she got a great scholarship package there. The package for her to attend that school in Alabama, what we want to look at is we want to look at the net cost. What's the net cost to attend that school? Because the sticker prices can vary all over the place. $50,000, $60,000, all the way down to $26,000 for in-state schools. When we did the net price comparison between all the schools that she was admitted to, and she was only admitted to 3 because her grades were low, it was less expensive for her to go to Alabama than for her to go to ASU. Okay, so again, when we're at
If you have that challenge, we might be faced with that
Yes.
the right school.
Yes. And when a college is offering scholarships, there's a variety of different scholarships that they offer under that merit umbrella. It's grades, test scores, leadership, community service, diversity, talent.
Yeah, well, I have a son who's a musician, so that probably explains it, but.
I'll tell you a really,